Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of Set Lusting Bruce, your podcast all about Bruce Springsteen, his music, and mostly his fans. I am your host, Jesse Jackson. We are getting off the Bruce train, though I'm sure he will come up as he often does. And I am joining one of my other obsessions way back so many years ago. My son and I, on our way to school when he was in elementary school, we started out listening to Kid Craddock in the morning and the hard line on the way home in the afternoon on a small little sports station called Sports Radio 1310 The Ticket. And it quickly got to where we were doing the ticket in the morning and the afternoon. My son is now 36 and we still talk ticket speak. And I have one of the main guys from the ticket, Sean Bass, joining me tonight. How are you doing, Sean?
Jesse, I'm great, man. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to talking music, and it's funny that you bring that up about Kid in the Morning because I remember the ticket launched in '94, so I was in sixth grade.
Yeah.
It was the spring semester of sixth grade, and my dad was a day one, and we listened mostly in the afternoon, but in the morning, I remember I was a fan of the Kid Craddock show because it
Yeah.
was it was the big morning show, and I
Yeah.
know it stayed really popular with a lot of soccer moms and whatnot. But yeah, once the ticket got off the ground that first year, and you had all that crazy cowboy news and stuff, then it turned
Yeah.
into every time we were in the car. It didn't matter what time of day it was; it just turned into all ticket. And to
Yeah.
start that out with my dad was a special thing, and to think I've now been there bumping up on 25 years next April is it's mind-blowing.
Yeah. For those of you who aren't in the Dallas Fort Worth area, though, now then with streaming and now then the Musers podcast, of hell, with y'all's podcast, you guys have fans all over the country, hell, over the world. But it was the first all 24-hour sports only station. And it developed into this guy talk, and it is truly one of the cultural icons of DFW. And I guess from what I understand, the industry itself, Sean?
Yeah, we weren't the first all sports station in the country, but we were in
No,
Dallas for
Dallas,
sure.
yes.
Because I know you had the fan up in New York, and there were
Right.
Boston, and there was a few other markets that had it. And there was some trepidation, I think, initially, at least from what I understand from
Yeah.
the guys that got it going. They didn't know if it was going to last 6 months, and then
Yeah.
you get dropped right into the thick middle of the '90s Cowboys and all the
Yeah.
drama on and off the field. I think that helped it take off. You had the whole Jimmy Jerry divorce,
Yeah.
and it really gained a foothold in the Metroplex. And now we have more than one sports station. And at one point we had three. ESPN Radio Dallas is no longer around, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's been really cool to see how it's evolved. And I guess the big challenge moving forward is how does terrestrial radio stay relevant in a world where people can stream and everything's digital and podcasts are such a big thing. But I do think one, the quality of the work we're doing every day, we care. And
Yeah.
like you said, it's not all sports. It's a lot of guy talk, and we have
Yeah.
fun and we joke around. And the listenership and creating that bond with them has been huge. But we are also now podcasting a lot of our segments. We do have the streaming app, which the morning news helped us create over a decade ago.
Yeah.
And like you said, it really helps people that don't live in the Metroplex anymore. They still have a connection to back home. And that's a really cool thing. And I hope that our industry, terrestrial radio, can step even further into the future as far as putting stuff out there that's more on demand.
I remember I was a huge Norm Hitzges fan before he went over to the ticket. And
Same.
on
I was too.
and one of the cable channel I had when I was living in Dallas had a channel that would broadcast KLIF. And so I would set my VCR to record 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. at just that channel so I could go back and listen.
That's awesome.
And so the idea now that you've got this streaming will do that. So fun story. I had John Alba on the podcast. He's a huge wrestling guy and does sports up in New York. And so he's also a big Springsteen fan. And he said the first time I had him on the podcast He was like, I was all ready to talk Bruce, and your first question was, so do you think Vince McMahon's going to sell WWE? I talk wrestling all the time.
Yeah.
I was going to talk music, so I did exactly the same thing to you. I'm sorry, my friend.
No, look, I'm happy to talk Ticket. I'm happy to talk Rangers. I see you're wearing a
Yeah.
Ranger t-shirt over the Zoom right now. And we had
Yes.
what I feel is the catastrophic moment of 2025 yesterday, which, man,
I
there's still over a month left in the season, but it just felt like that was the death nail. And I'm still trying to process it.
so about a month ago, the company I worked for said, we're thinking about getting a suite. Who'd want to go? And so we went, and I love this. The guy organizing says, couple of rules. One, if you say you're going to go, you have to go.
Right.
Two, are you going to stay at least to the sixth inning? We don't want people to come in, just eat the free food, drink a couple of beers, and leave. And can't wear Astro gear. So that was him just having fun. And so we were at the game yesterday.
Oh, no.
There was a suite, and we were having so much fun. And when we got the insurance run, we were just screaming, yelling, okay, that's good. We got a
Yep.
2-run cushion. Oh, this is great. And then the top of the ninth, you're just like, what happened?
I know. It was so frustrating. And I got home from the show, so I watched the end of it, and I didn't realize my oldest kid was home, and
Yeah.
I see the home run happen that Marte hit,
Yeah.
and I let out a giant F-bomb,
Yeah.
and they come running out of their room. What happened? I'm like, oh,
What
sorry.
happened? Yeah.
Well,
Sorry.
the season might have ended. That's just what
Yeah,
happened.
exactly. Yes. This is great. So let's start out with tell the listeners a little about yourself.
Sure. I'm a DFW product. I grew up in Mesquite, Texas, just east of Dallas, and I grew up in a single parent family with my father, and he was an artist and a sculptor. So we didn't have a lot of money, but because my dad was artistic, he raised me trying to give me as much culture as I could. We'd go to musicals. He was really into the music of his generation, which I grew up on, which is a lot of classic rock, Pink Floyd, Rolling Stones, Zeppelin, you name it.
Mm,
And he was always a big musical influence to at least start out. And the fact that as I got older, he started to pay attention to what I was listening to too, because he didn't just get set in his ways. He was pretty open minded there. And so I grew up with my dad, went to the University of North Texas, and I had a chance to maybe be a radio, television, film major because I was already working at the Ticket, because I went to junior college for a few years to get my basics out of the way. And instead of getting an RTVF degree, which it's not the best degree to get if you want to just find some other job, and I was already working at the station, they said just get a degree in whatever you want, because that's the most important thing. So I'm an English lit major. I minored in philosophy, and I took my sweet time getting through college because I paid for it myself. Because like I said, my dad wasn't
yeah.
very affluent. He was an artist and a sculptor, so there wasn't just a whole lot of money rolling in.
Mm,
And I was working at the station while going to college, and I slowly worked my way up at the radio station, from an overnight board up on the weekends to a weekend anchor to a full-time anchor to a producer, and now a talk show host. And it's pretty crazy to think that I've almost been there 25 years, because doesn't feel like it's been that long.
Yeah.
And it's the only profession I've ever known. I've never really had a real job. I did work in physician recruitment just to have a full-time gig after college, and I only did that for about 10 months before a full-time opening popped up at the station. So that's my brief education and family story. And now I'm married with 2 kids and a dog you might be able to hear in the background right now. And in
Yeah,
fact,
that's
she
awesome.
Biscuit's barking right now. She probably wants to weigh in
Sure.
a little bit.
Wants to join in. Why literature? Why the English?
It was one of those things where I had a really good English teacher. Hang on, I'm gonna have to get my dog to not bark, because she likes to be very vocal.
That's okay.
My wife's taking her out right now.
I see that. No problem.
Okay. Why English? English because Miss Adams, my junior year of high school, was a terrific teacher, and I enjoyed that part of English. It wasn't just all grammar. We were starting to read books and write papers, and I felt like it's a lot easier just to read a book and write a paper, because you're not wrong on the
Yeah.
test. It's just a matter of how good or bad you can write a paper was your grade. And I love that
Yeah.
aspect of it. And because my dad raised me to enjoy music and culture. I gravitated towards literature, and once I was told that I didn't have to get a radio, television, film degree to pursue a job in media, I thought I'm just going to keep taking English classes because I'm just reading books. And that's a big reason why I also minored in philosophy at UNT, because I just would read books and write papers. And that was way easier than trying to figure math out
Yeah.
or try to become a business major or something like that. I love history too. It just
Hmm.
felt like I was at home with that. And I love to read. The only problem is, and my wife's very much into, she even writes romance, and she's really
Yeah.
into romance novels right now. And my kids are avid readers, and they give me a hard time because I don't read books all the time because I'm having to read the internet and try to keep up
Yes.
with all the content I have to think about and talk about
Yeah.
during the day with the show. So at the end of the day, I feel like, man, I've read a ton, but I haven't actually cracked open a book. So that's something I need to change moving forward. But yeah, being a lit major was really cool in college because you're around a bunch of laid back people and there wasn't a lot of competition there, like
Right.
on the study side. So
Yeah. If you're in
it was easy.
engineering or
Right.
pre-law or
For law. Yeah.
pre-med, right?
For
Yeah,
med.
something. Favorite writers?
I think Hemingway, I fell in love with Hemingway as a kid in high school, and I think he's the greatest American writer. That's my patented answer, but and it changes a little bit. I got into the transcendental poets when I got into poetry a little bit in the college, and I think Jack Kerouac, more 20th century, I kind of
Yeah.
gravitate towards his stuff, I think.
Very cool. Very nice. All right, so you already talked a little bit. So your dad loved a lot of classic rock, but you said that as you started finding music that you felt were your own, he was opening to hearing about it. So who were you discovering as a young Sean and you're exploring music?
When you get into late elementary and middle school, it was the 90s. So you had a
Right.
lot of, it wasn't just like butt rock and hair metal anymore. It was,
Yeah.
you were going into the grunge side of things and the whole alternative wave. That spoke to me, and that spoke to a whole generation of 40 somethings now. And it was really cool to see how that all evolved. And there's also elements of hip hop from the early 90s, Tribe Called Quest, and that evolved into what rap is now. And I think there's just a lot from the past few decades that I really got into. And I'm glad my dad was able to at least listen and just not close it off. And I think there's some things I turned him on to as well, which was pretty cool.
Did you mentioned we were going to talk about this that you go to, even though you're busy being a husband and a host and a father, but you try to go to a lot of shows.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
my wife's a music teacher, so she loves
oh,
music,
nice.
and my oldest is one of the better oboe players for her age in the whole area and region, and my little
Okay.
one's in a fine arts academy, and she loves Broadway, so we dig music, and even the kids like to go to concerts as well. I like to take my wife, but sometimes my wife might not want to go see a band I want to see, so I'll just go by myself. In fact, next week I'm going to go see Flaming Lips and Modest Mouse solo, and I'm an only child, so I'm used to being by myself. So I can go
Yeah.
see a show no problem solo.
I'll ask the mandatory. Have you seen Bruce perform live?
I have a couple times. The first time was at the American Airlines Center, I believe, in 2008
Okay.
during the is that the Magic album? I
Yeah,
want to
I think
say,
so. Yeah, it's
yeah,
either Magic or Working on the Dream. The reason
yeah, it
why
was
is
Magic.
one of them Magic, and then Working on the Dream, he played Houston. Yeah,
And the thing is, it's weird because I grew up understanding who Bruce Springsteen was. I remember quite a bit of the music from the 80s as well.
sure.
And I was never the biggest Bruce fan. There's stuff I liked for sure.
Yeah.
But once I got into college and my girlfriend who I was dating then, her dad was Midwestern guy, but her dad and her mom, they were like Bruce super fans. So I got more exposed to Bruce at that point,
Yeah.
and I started getting into it more and it's bridged from what I knew to what I didn't know. And then in 2008, I was lucky enough to buy some tickets to the show. I got floor tickets and I went out to the plaza of the American Airlines Center, and our section won the lottery to get in first. So
Oh, nice.
I was like center mic, like on the rail,
Yeah.
standing next to Andrew McCarthy of the Brat Pack of all people the whole night, which was pretty surreal.
Yeah.
And Bon Jovi came out in the middle of that set and did
I
Glory
do.
Days.
Yes, I was there at that show. I remember that.
And Glory Days wasn't always my favorite song of
Yeah.
Bruce's, but to see those two do that was unique and cool. So now I have a new appreciation for it. And they opened with 10th Avenue Freeze Out, and
Yeah.
it was a magic night. It was one of the best concert experiences I think I'll ever have in my life. And then, of course, when the Final Four was here a number of years ago, where the old Reunion Arena
Right.
site was, I went to that free show, and that was pretty outstanding too.
Yeah. The Wolanski did a review of that show, and he said that it may have been the best Springsteen show he'd ever been to,
Hmm.
partly because of the atmosphere,
Yeah.
because it was raining and cold.
Yep.
They did not have as many people going as they thought, even though it was a free show. And I agree. I remember being at that show, and it was a little more hit friendly
Yeah.
because I think he knew the audience he was playing for.
Sure.
And I don't know about you, but when he came out to Sweet Georgia Brown and they went into Jump, I
Yeah.
went, "This is
I
awesome."
was like, I did not expect that at all. Again, I'm not a huge Van Halen
Right.
fan. I feel like that they were a little before my
Sure.
prime of liking music,
Yeah.
but I thought that was such a cool touch. I'm like, oh yeah, they're here for a basketball tournament, so
Yeah.
why not do the Sweet Georgia Brown and then go right into Jump? I
Yeah.
thought that was really awesome. And I also remember Charles Barkley, I think, introduced them, and he was drunk off his ass.
Yeah.
And he could barely stand up. That's what I vividly remember that. And I want to say there was more concerts the day before, because I feel like I saw the Killers the night before,
Yeah.
and I think Fun might have opened up for them, but
Yeah.
it was a lot of, despite the weather, it was really memorable to go see.
It was.
There's nothing like live music, and when you're
Yeah.
standing in a place where the Stars helped win a Stanley Cup, and Dirk
Yeah.
Nowitzki began his career, and then you have the whole skyline around you and Reunion Tower, magic.
It was. And then when I remember I tweeted who had Jump on their bracket, and everyone said Bruce, because the NCAA
Right.
destroying brackets everywhere. And yeah, I really do recommend, if you guys have never gone, it's on YouTube. The whole video, they streamed it live,
Yep.
so you can see the whole concert. It's a really good concert, but if you do Jump, they do a great version of that.
Yeah, it was really good, and I think, and maybe I'm mixing it up in my head with stuff I've seen
Yeah,
online, but I feel like he did a really stripped down version of Born to Run. No, not Born to Run, but what am I trying to think? Thunder Road. That night,
yes,
it was a more stripped down, quiet version,
it was.
which he's done from time to time, I know, in the
Yeah,
past, and it wasn't the big bravado thing like you see on the videos of at
no.
MSG or anything. That really got me.
Yeah, he closed with that. And I remember Patty was in the background doing background. So it was almost solo with her just helping a little.
Mhm.
And I do remember that was like, wow, okay, that was a really cool way to end.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are both two good shows.
Yeah, and I'm glad that I went to the AC one, especially because one, I was so close, and that was such a unique thing. And
Yeah,
for Clarence to still be with us,
yeah,
I'm glad I got to see that.
absolutely. Who are some of your other favorite bands?
Oh man, that's all time. I'm a Floydian. I grew up on that.
Yeah,
They hold a very special place in my heart. But I think the first music I was ever exposed to was the Beatles, like a lot of
sure.
kids my age, I bet. Because I remember my 6th birthday, my dad bought me, I want to say, every Beatles album on cassette tape. And I
Oh,
remember
how
putting it,
cool.
the first one I put in, I'll never forget. I was in my room like the day after my birthday party. I'm like, I'll listen to one of these. So I just saw the White Album, which is just the
Yeah,
tape said the Beatles. I'm like, okay, I'll just start with this one.
yeah,
And track one of side one was Back in the USSR. And to
yeah.
hear that jet plane come in and then hear the drums and the guitar, I was like, oh my God. I remember very where I was as a child. And I could feel my brain just opening up to, holy shit, there's this whole world that I can now discover. It's like going from a world in black and white, and then boom, you just see colors. Oh my God, this is what I need. I need more of this. My soul was going, yes, dig into this if you can. And so obviously Beatles. As far as more current stuff, maybe stuff from college. I'm a huge Wilco guy. I've seen Wilco 5 times live. I just saw them Toyota Music Factory a few months back. I mentioned the Killers. I think we're on 4 times to see them. In fact, that was my youngest daughter's first concert ever. We
Nice.
we took her a few years back at Dickies Arena in Fort Worth, and she was maybe eight at the time, I want to say, and it was way past her bedtime, but she was a trooper. She stuck with it the whole time, and that's such a hard question to say who your favorite bands are, because
Yeah.
there's some Dire Straits songs that are very close to my heart. There's Lord Huron is a newer band that my wife and I, we bond over them. The Old 97s, a local
Yeah.
band who I've seen probably a dozen times, and I'm actually somehow, because of the station, has become friends with a few of them. In fact, we ran into Phil, the drummer, on my wife and I's first date, because we
Yeah.
were at Granada Theater watching my friends the O's. They had like their concert there to release their CD in 2013. And I look over and I knew that Jen was an old 97s fan. I'm like, hey, there's Phil. She's, oh my God. I'm like, hey, you want to go say hi? And she's, oh yes, of course. So, and she later got to meet Rhett Miller, and Ken Bethea is a
Yeah.
disc golfer like I am, and we text every now and again. That's I guess what I used to have a harder rock edge to myself when I was in my teens, like going to Ozfest and things like that. And
Sure.
I still love Metallica, AC/DC, all the classic metal stuff. But as I've gotten older, I'm more into, I don't want to call it Americana or country, but it's just more of I don't know, indie rock with some sort of country twang to it.
Yeah.
That's more my speed these days.
Yeah. One of my other podcasts I do is a Perfectly Good Podcast. Me and Sylvan are going through every John Hyatt song in alphabetical order.
Okay.
And when we talk about that, artists like John Prime and John Hyatt and
Mm-hmm.
others, Jason Isbell, that you and I talked a little about, it when they came up with Americana, it was like, oh yeah, that is a label that kind of works,
Yeah.
because some of these people, like, how do you put them in? They're not quite rock and roll, but they're certainly not
Mm-hmm.
country. So it's nice. Yeah.
So you go back to the '90s, and there's Sunvolt and Uncle Tupelo, I guess, before that, and then Wilco
Yeah.
stemmed
Yeah.
from that. And there's a lot of current bands, like you mentioned, Isbell. Like I said, Lord Huron. I feel
Yeah.
like those are country albums. Like Shaky
Yeah.
Graves, that's a country artist who's got a rock tinge to it. I think
Yeah.
you could even say the same thing about Sturgill Simpson, who's
Yeah.
a country person doing rock. And I like, for whatever reason, that is hitting a chord with me these days in my
Yeah.
early 40s.
That's nice. I'm going to switch over just for a little bit. You mentioned very early, can can you remember when you discovered the ticket, and tell me the journey of how you ended up working there
I
part-time?
I guess just with my dad in the car,
Yeah.
I remember listening early on the way to school,
Yeah.
especially when the whole Jimmy Jerry divorce thing was popping off. And Skip Bayless was
Mhm.
the morning show, and I didn't really care for him, but I really enjoyed Musers and the Hardline in the
Yeah.
afternoon.
Right.
And that's when the Musers weren't the morning show, that's when they were in the afternoon. So I latched onto them a little bit, and as I got older, I just listened a lot. In fact, I listened to Mike and Grego a lot because back in the day, I didn't have cable until I was 14 years old. So I would listen to a lot of Ranger games on the radio in my room at night,
Yeah.
and I would switch over to the Ticket to hear Diamond Talk with Mike and Greg. And the fact that I've been hosting Diamond Talk now for, gosh, since 2009 is that's a dream come true personally.
I was
But
gonna
yeah,
say, is that just, do you pinch yourself every once in a go? I can't
yeah.
believe this.
And I still love doing it, whether it's a World Series season or a bad season. I'm getting paid to watch baseball and then talk about
Yeah.
it, and because that's the sport and the team I'm most emotional about. So that's a cool thing I've gotten to do, and it's what I'm known for at the station now, which I'm totally at home with that. But as far as a kid, once you got into junior high and high school, you start worrying about playing football and your friends and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But my best friend in the world, because I'm an only child, was a dude named Scott, and we were thick as thieves since little league in second grade, and he also liked the Ticket. So sometimes we would skip lunch in high school and go grab a burger nearby, and we would listen to Chris Arnold
Yeah.
during the lunch hour. So that was always the thing. And Chris hasn't been with the station in a long time, but that was always
Yeah.
a way to stay attached to it. And I would then listen to the Hardline on the
Yeah.
way home from practice or school. And it's just one of those things that's always been a constant since basically middle school. And when I was 19 at Eastfield College, knocking out some basics, Bob and Dan, Bad Radio, had a remote at a Subway across the street from Eastfield. And I was like, wow, the ticket's over here. I'm just going to go pop my head in to see what's up. And I started talking to this girl who worked in promotions. And she's, oh, you like the ticket? I'm like, yeah, I've been listening for a long time, blah, blah, blah. She's, we are hiring promotions assistants. I'm like, okay. I already had a job, but it was
Yeah.
very part time. And I was thinking, I thought I wanted to be a writer and a journalist at that moment. And I never really thought about being a radio host, but I thought, ooh, this could be a cool way to at least get my foot in the door at a media entity and be a journalist. And then as I went through college, I started doing more play-by-play because I was a failed athlete. I wasn't a college athlete.
Yeah.
At UNT, they have a play-by-play class that used to be taught by Bill Mercer. So I did that. And while I was at UNT, I was doing radio stuff at KNTU. I was also working at the Ticket. So while I was cutting my teeth in college, I was able to transition and do more on-air stuff at the station as I got older and older. And that's my origin story with KTCK.
I like the idea that I remember one of my first grown-up jobs. I just turned 30, living here in Dallas, and got hired by a company, and I started as a customer service rep, and then I worked up to database guy, then I was a supervisor, then I was a manager, and then I was a director, and it was like 17, 18 years there. And it's
Right.
just the idea that you've grown with the company and you look and go, wow, that who would have thought when I'm sitting there, put the headset on, answering calls, that you would work out to that. So that's cool.
Yeah, and the first thing, because I was a promotions assistant, so you go out to like remotes or
Yeah.
ticket stock, and you'd hand out stickers and you put
Yeah.
up posters and stuff like that. But I thought this isn't what I want to do. So I had enough people skills at that point because my dad always raised me to try to be well spoken around grown-ups. So I
Yeah.
didn't have any fear of talking to people. So I just asked Mark Friedman, God rest his soul, if I could maybe start working up there. And then I started interning for Big Dick Hunter and Doug Anderson. They had a weekend show. So I was free labor for them they didn't have a producer. So they just let me do all the
Yeah.
producer stuff. And then I got a job board hopping, which was on the weekends overnight. So I was going to college,
Yeah.
having a normal student life, and then on the weekends, starting Friday night at 10 p.m., I'd roll into the station and work till 6 a.m. And I would do that Friday into Saturday and Saturday into Sunday, and then turn around, flip my life back into student mode. And I was a little run down at times in college, but after about 7-8 months of doing the overnights, I was proficient enough to actually get some weekend day shifts to learn how to push buttons and whatnot. Then while I was doing that, I was doing more on-air stuff in college in North Texas. And then that turned into doing tickers and news and things like that. And luckily, UNT gives you enough opportunities to have hands-on experience as a student. So you're hosting the news and sports in the afternoon on 88.1, and you're calling games at nights and on the weekends. And it was, if anybody wants to do this, which I don't know if I would recommend radio for a lot of kids
Right.
because of the way the industry is, but if you want to cut your teeth, and especially if you want to be an on-air personality or a play-by-play guy or a news anchor, I think North Texas is second to none, because what they've done with their television station just itself is incredible. They still have the radio station, and now there's so much emphasis on production and digital
Yeah.
things like that it's the sky's the limit.
Yeah. So I want to go back a couple of years, and the 23 season for the Rangers. We're Back then there was not the Ranger Network. It was hard as hell to find the games on TV.
Yeah.
And I remember they make the playoff. And at the time, I was working for a job. I was working a job where I was working nights, 8 p.m. to like 6 in the morning. And so the playoffs start. And my son and I are looking like, do you know anyone? And we're like, Simeon and a couple of, but not really.
Yeah.
Let's hope we get a long enough run that we'll get to know them. So you go through that 4 series, and I remember, and I'd love for you to tell your story of how you felt during that run and then that magical night where you stayed up all night because I was listening the whole time,
All
just
right.
smiling. So please.
You're right. It was hard to watch games back then,
Yeah.
before Ranger Sports Network, and I now have the Victory Plus app. A lot of people
Yeah.
do, because we've been a YouTube TV house for a number of years now, and it's such a good platform. It's gotten more
Yeah.
expensive, but it's so user friendly, and
Yeah.
you can watch it anywhere on your phone or your laptop.
All
It's
right.
awesome. So we all like it, and the idea was like, if we went back to direct TV, we could watch Ranger games, but because the internet's a big place, there are certain websites you could go to where you could just stream it. And it probably
Yeah.
wasn't legal, but
Yeah.
that's what I did. That's what I did to watch games when I wasn't up at the station doing Diamond Talk or
Right.
at the ballpark. So yeah, I think that was really tough for a lot of the fan base because I don't know, something that we could all access pretty easily for a long time all of a sudden wasn't there because people weren't willing to either go back to cable or direct
Yeah.
TV. So I felt like Diamond Talk served an even bigger purpose then because
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
maybe that was a way for people to follow it. And it's weird, and people forget that, and because they were big at the trade deadline, because they got off to the 40-20 start in 2023 and the offense was good.
Yeah.
And then they, at the trade deadline, they went and got Max Scherzer and Jordan Montgomery, who Jordan Montgomery was terrific in that push in October. Things didn't go like exactly those following months after the trade deadline. In fact, there was a stretch, I want to say pretty much around this time, where they lost 16 out of 20
Yeah.
and their lead in the division was dwindling, and the Astros caught them, and we're just like, dude, this isn't going to happen. Like
It's the Rangers. It's just,
exactly.
yeah.
We're conditioned to think
Yeah.
it's just gonna fizzle out. And they go up to Seattle and they had a 4-game series, and I think they lost 3 or 4 to the Mariners, and a lot of them were close losses, and that took them out of the top spot in the division for good. And they were a wild card team, and they had to go across the country. Couldn't even go home, go straight from Seattle to Tampa to start that series. And that's the thing they say about sports, just get in the tournament and see what
Yeah.
happens. And luckily they had the pitching with Evaldi and Montgomery, and
Yeah.
Scherzer was battling injury at that point. We didn't think he was going to come back at all, but the offense was able to carry them, and they played terrific defense, and Bruce Bochy knew what to do and how to dial up his bullpen, and they won 11 road games in the
Yes.
postseason by beating Tampa, and then they took down an Orioles team that won over
Yeah, right.
100 games.
Because you spelled road. That was, yeah, the Rays, the
Rays,
Oreos,
Orioles,
just Astros, and then
Astros.
Diamondbacks. Yeah.
And I'll admit, I thought game 5 of the ALCS, when Leclerc gave up the home run, it's just, this is it, because
Yeah.
you're not going to go down to Houston and win one, let alone 2 games. And
Right.
looks like we were wrong.
And because I remember the last World Series, the previous.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it was the first year, we felt like American League champions. The next year, we felt like World Series losers, right? Yeah, it was just, you were so excited. Oh, and then,
You beat the Yankees. Like, you
yeah,
struck out A-Rod on the final pitch. It's
yeah,
okay. You ran into a team that just outpitched you, and
yeah,
Cliff Lee didn't keep the magic going. But at that
yeah,
point, God, we'd never been to a World Series. Like, the whole
yeah,
sport was finally paying attention to us. But it was great to see that next season them respond the way they did. And then
yeah,
Beltray was here, and that felt like a team that,
yeah,
in fact, I remember doing exit interviews after 2011 in the room, and
yeah,
Michael Young was talking to us, and he told us, you can't tell me this isn't a championship group. Like, we
yeah,
all feel like champions, even though it didn't happen and we won't have a ring or a
yeah,
trophy to show for it. We feel like we're a room
yeah,
of champions. And it does break my heart that they came that close twice, one strike
yeah,
away twice, and couldn't get it done
yeah,
against St. Louis. But I guess way now, looking back on it and having one World Series happen a few years ago, it lessens it a little bit. But for people like Napoli and Beltray and Michael Young
yeah,
and Ian Kinsler and Josh
yeah,
Hamilton, all those guys,
yeah,
Ranger legends, that they came so close, and Ron Washington came so close to getting it
yeah,
done. That still breaks my heart. In fact, we just had a summer trip to St. Louis with the family, and
yeah,
I took the kids to a Cardinals game, and we saw the Cardinals museum, and there's a lot of Game 6 2011 stuff that just goes on, and it's right there in your face, and it still haunts me. And I know that everybody says, oh, 2011 doesn't matter because 23 happened. No,
no,
that still hurts my heart. That's the biggest sports disappointment I think I'm ever going to have in my life, and
oh, because
without
I'm,
question.
yeah, you're like, I remember going, well, let's just get on base, and I make a joke, or Josh could just knock one out, and then
Yeah.
when you see that, you're like, "Holy."
Storybook,
So,
yeah. That
yeah,
would have been one of the most important home runs in the history of the sport, and now it's
yes,
just a small footnote because of what
yeah.
happened in
Uh,
the next inning.
so, year or two later, we were up in St. Louis for just we did a getaway trip, my wife and I. There was a there just getting away. And so we're in the arch and we're seeing it. We're seeing the ballpark. I'm like, too soon, too soon.
I know.
And then we went to a minor league team and it's like too soon, too soon. And it's
Mhm.
still when I see that St. Louis Cardinal, I just go, too soon, too soon.
Yeah, I think the trip this summer with the family was maybe, I don't wanna call it cathartic.
Yeah,
It was annoying at times because the Airbnb we were staying at had a David Freese poster in the
yeah,
basement, and
yeah,
there's framed Cardinals memorabilia everywhere, and you're like, "Oh, this
yeah,
is still gross," but it did help to go to the scene of the crime and
yeah.
experience it, and I think St. Louis is a bit of an underrated city. I know it's not considered, like, a great destination. I wasn't necessarily thrilled to go there, but there was a
Mm,
lot to do. Like you said, the Arch was awesome, and they have
yeah,
museums and
yeah.
the food. It's a cool little town. I don't know if I'd wanna go back on a vacation, but I'm glad I went the one time.
Yeah, we went. They were having there was a bourbon society there,
Hmm.
and they were having this Angel's Envy, which is a type of bourbon.
I'm
Uh,
familiar.
okay, so it was a dinner. So
Okay.
that the head brewery, the distillery, the head distiller was doing a speech, and they had paired us food with different types of Angel's Envy. And so that we drove all the way from Dallas to go to this stupid dinner, and we
Yeah.
had a great time. And yeah, it's nice. I do that is a happy memory. Then after they win and you immediately turn to the ticket and you guys like, yeah, we're not turning off. You know?
No, and it's interesting too because I think people forget there was a Stars game that night. So we're
Yeah.
airing a Stars game as the Rangers are winning the World Series. So me and David Mino, we broadcast over Twitch and Facebook and
Yeah.
YouTube for an hour. We did that for an hour. Then once the Stars game ended, because
Yeah.
again we have to air that.
Yeah.
Uh, we went from about 11 until 5:30 in the morning when we mixed with Donovan Miller,
Yeah.
which was cool. I mean, it honestly, I didn't really run out of steam until about 5,
Yeah.
and because just to hear the emotion in people's voices, because we just basically after a while we said everything we needed to, so we just started taking calls just to see how people were feeling and just what it meant to them. And people are talking about their fathers and
Yes.
their parents and grandparents who are no longer around that helped them fall in love with the sport. That was, yeah, I mean, that's one of the best moments I'll ever have in broadcasting, is just to be part of that for people. Not even really like them listening to what I say, just the fact that we got to share that with some people in the Metroplex, and just a true moment of joy.
Yeah. I had the same feeling that, and I kept thinking, it's gonna die down, so then I could get in. And it did. They were,
Yeah.
and so
Well, we
I
only have 5 lines people can call into,
yeah,
so you
yeah.
have to, like, time it out right. Once somebody drops, if you somehow get in the
Yeah.
queue.
And so then we were laughing because I forget whether it was Facebook Messenger or maybe it was Bob's Substack, but a bunch of us were just talking away and just this sense of joy
I know.
that was, yeah, that's great.
And then the
And
parade the next few days
yeah,
later that was surreal because
yeah,
my show, The Sweet Spot, and The Invasion with Donnie and Matt, we just did our shows from the parade, like, right in the middle of it,
yeah,
outside of Texas Live the whole day, and it was so much fun. Like, we started in the morning and went until pretty much before all the speeches happened, because they had the whole parade around the stadium, and then once that all dispersed, everybody went to the stage area, and there was such a massive humanity all around at once that our internet connection, which kept us on the air, just went kaput and we couldn't get back on. So we were done at 2:45 or so, and then
yeah,
we're watching the speeches, and there's the big Creed sing along of "Will You Take Me Higher." It
yeah,
was that was a golden day in life, I tell you what.
absolutely. Is there something you'd still want to do it? What creative in your career that you haven't got to do yet that you would like to, Sean?
That's a good question. I do some play by play. In fact, Saturday night we have another Frisco Rough Riders game on the ticket, because I think in 2018 and 2019 I did some play-by-play like 6 Saturday nights in the summer, because we don't have any
Okay.
programming on Saturday nights. So why not just air some baseball games? Because we
Yeah.
were actually the first radio home of the Rough Riders back in 2003, when we would split
Yeah.
our signal from 1310 to 1700. And it was, it's very self-serving for me to knock the number 2 guy out of the seat and call a few
Yeah.
games. But it's been a lot of fun, especially this season with Zach Bigley.
Yeah.
And I think if I have another dream job outside of what I'm doing right now, it is
Yeah.
maybe do play-by-play in the big leagues and for the
Yeah.
Texas Rangers. But I hope Eric Nadel never retires. I know he will, but
Yeah.
they're in such good hands there with Matt Hicks, and my really good friend of mine, Jared Sandler, is filling
Yeah.
in some, and he's doing an awesome job. And we have so many good, young, talented play-by-play people in the area. Ted Emmerich, I think, should take over for Brad Sham one day. I think he's pound
Yeah.
for pound. I think he might be the best broadcaster in the whole Metroplex, and he does college games on ESPN. And you put him in any setting, he will thrive. And there's Kyle Yeomans, who's a fellow UNT product, who does some Cowboys stuff for the Cowboys, and he'll actually call a few preseason games. And I've heard him do games on ESPN Plus and the radio, and he's tremendous as well. So if there is one itch I want to scratch, maybe moving forward, would be maybe some MLB play-by-play. I guess that's the one thing I still haven't done that I would really want to do.
Are you happy? And this is probably a duh question, but are you happy that you've been able to find this career in DFW, since that's where you grew up? Or do you have a little itch that you'd like to explore another market?
I don't know if I'd want to explore another market doing what I'm doing.
Okay.
I'm so fortunate being from Mesquite and living in Dallas and going to UNT,
Yeah.
in this little pocket to where we're in the broadcast area of KTCK. It's
Yeah.
pretty much where I lived my whole life. So to be a part of that is such a special thing. And we just had our 31st anniversary. I'm coming up on 25 years. I feel like I've been there for a good chunk of it. So I'm very proud of that.
Yeah.
And if I got fired tomorrow, I think I've had a full broadcast career. And
Yeah.
once our kids are adults and off in college and on their own, like, I think there's an idea that maybe my wife and I might want to move somewhere that's not Texas.
Yeah.
And I don't know what I would do there. I don't know if I'd want to
Yeah.
broadcast in a different market. I'm personally drawn to the Pacific Northwest. I think Seattle is, and I've never been there when it's been raining too heavy, so maybe I have a distorted view of it. But every time I've been there, it's been incredible, and it's always been during the summer when it's like 1,000,000 degrees here, and it's just gorgeous. And
I was thinking that
there's more trees, and there's more oxygen, and there's more
Yeah.
outdoor activities, and it just feels like a place that I feel like I could live one day. There's very few places in the country I think I would want to move to, but that's
Yeah.
definitely one of them.
Yeah, when we're facing the worst moment of the year, the idea of playing at a place where it rains all the time and it's a little chilly sounds darn good.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
there's just so much, I don't know, beauty up there too. If you can
Yeah.
go to Olympic National Park, and you have the whole West Coast, which
Yeah.
is gorgeous. And we were just in Ventura for training camp, and that's another place, like, I couldn't afford to live here. I don't think I'll ever be able to afford to live here.
Yeah.
But from a
Yeah.
weather standpoint, speaking of music, while I was at camp, I went to the Santa Barbara Bowl in
Okay.
Santa Barbara, California, to see Father John Misty and Lucinda Williams opened. And that was
Ooh,
that was
that
a
sounds
that was a fantastic night, because it was about 70 degrees. Sun went down. It was about 65, and you're far away enough from LA to where there's not as much light pollution, so you could see a lot
Yeah.
of stars. And there was the beautiful Jerry Garcia Glen. You have to walk up this winding trail, and there's trees and beer gardens and just
Oh,
rocks
wow.
everywhere. So you're basically trekking up this hill to go into this bowl stadium that seats about 5,000. And then there's a terrace up top. If you ever go
Yeah.
to the Santa Barbara Bowl, you have to go to the top, and it
Okay.
overlooks the whole town, and you can see the ocean and the Channel Islands. And it's there might not be a more perfect venue to see music on the West Coast than that place. I know people talk about Red Rocks and how
Yeah.
revered
Sure.
that place is, but I think I'd rather see a show at Santa Barbara Bowl.
What I think, yeah, that beauty, right, of I think you talk about, you hope Eric Nadel never retires. I want to be Eric Nadel when I grow up. To travel and like, he was lucky enough. I saw him at Club Dada. Lily Hickman, John's daughter, was playing in Club Dada, and I said, "Hey, Linda, that's my wife. that's Eric Nadel, and go talk to him. So I went, hey, Eric. And he was, of course, nice. And I said,
He's the nicest human being you could ever
yeah.
run into.
And so similar like I did with you, I go, hey, I do a podcast about music. Any chance you'd want to be on? Oh, yeah, sure. Give me a card. And like the next day, he emailed me
Yeah.
and said, hey, when do we want to do this? And by the way, I'm going to brag on you. You immediately said, yeah, let me put you in my phone.
Mhm.
Let's make this happen. And Eric's, hey, if I don't do it right away, I'll forget.
Yep.
And so we talked about music and enjoyed. And I love the idea of you see the Ranger schedule and you look at what music venues you can see and go.
Honestly,
Like,
that's what I would do if I were in that position,
oh,
because
yeah.
there is a chance, depending on when the game starts and ends,
Yeah.
you can still catch a show. Like,
Yeah.
if you're in, I don't know, New York, San Francisco,
Yeah.
there's clubs to where you could go see a great band after
Yes.
hours.
Yeah. So that's great. That's good. So musically, who are some people that you can still see that you haven't seen that you want to? Are there bands you're
Ooh.
chasing, Sean?
Yeah, there's a lot of bands that I think that for whatever reason I just haven't seen. I think at the top of the list right now
Yeah.
Might be Pearl Jam. Even though they're not an old band, we're all getting older, and I feel
Yeah.
like there's been opportunities in the past to see them, and I just haven't, and that's on me. I do want to go see Beyonce because I feel like that would kick ass in a
I
way,
think
because
yes,
in
right
having
there.
my wife and daughters, they like pop, so
Yeah.
I really like Dua Lipa.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that I've grown to enjoy, so I like to go see the spectacle of all of
Yeah.
that. Actually, I think I have seen Beyonce because I saw Jay-Z and Beyonce together at American Airlines Center, but I would want to go see the current tour that
Yeah.
Queen Bee's on right now. As far as I went, I had tickets to go see Neil Young last year,
Okay.
and there was an illness in his band, and they canceled that
Okay.
end of the tour, so I never got to see Neil. And Neil's getting older, and I feel like that was like a great opportunity to knock that one out. And
Yeah.
man, I just hope I can see him in some form, because he was with Crazy Horse, and I thought,
Yeah.
let's go. And that feels like something that I missed out on,
Yeah.
honestly.
My story is I when Linda was pregnant with Chris, we had tickets to see Jimmy Buffett and she was just sick. Just morning sickness,
Yeah,
after just nauseous. And then you're raising your kid and you're doing things and you all we can go next summer. So
right.
you next and then when he
I will catch him
died,
next time.
yeah, and I just felt this sadness of there won't be a next summer and that's one I didn't get to see. And it's a little sad.
There is one that really hurts my heart, especially in hindsight,
Yeah.
because I was in my 20s and my ex girlfriend, and I got tickets to go see REM.
Okay.
And I bought these well ahead of time. Yeah, great. But then like I said, scratching the itch of play by play, I was doing high school football play by play, and this
Yeah.
game landed on the same Friday that the REM show was. And I thought, you know what? They're paying me to call this game. I do all this prep work. I'm in a groove. It's a district game.
Yeah.
You know what? We'll catch REM the next time around. And she went with a friend, and she was blown away and said it was one of the best shows she's ever seen. And I couldn't tell you one thing about that game I called, but
Yeah.
if I went to that show, I could probably tell you about the whole set list. And that's
Yeah.
one of my favorite bands of life. And I just really feel dumb because they broke up, and I don't think there's any real opportunity
Right.
for them to get back together, at least from what I read. And that one sticks in my craw quite a bit.
It's one of the fun stories, Sean, is if you ask almost any Springsteen fan the amount of shows they've gone to, the number is usually prefaced with only.
Yeah.
I've only gone to
Yeah.
20. I've
Hey,
only gone to 12. I've only seen it.
it makes sense. Yes.
Yeah, it is. And I use the analogy that, in fact, I had a guy on the podcast that talked about he saw Bruce like at the first time, like in 75 or something.
Oh,
And he
wow.
said, but if I'd known him before, Jesse, like think of all the college gigs and the high
Yes.
school gigs I could have gone to.
Or the
Right?
small clubs or things like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. And I go, I feel like the same way it feels like a team chases a mixed extra point. We're chasing those concerts we hadn't got to go to.
Yeah, for sure. And but there's so many bands I have seen that
Yeah.
I'm so glad that I took the time to go see. In fact, my first concert in life, I was a 7-year-old, 6 or 7, I forget. It was at Starplex, which
Yeah.
I still call it Starplex in Dallas.
Yes.
And I saw Crosby, Stills, Nash. That was
Oh, that's nice.
my dad and his friends, and because he took me to everything, because
Yeah.
he wanted me to get exposed to everything I could. I feel like that was a great first concert to go see.
Oh, that's a great one.
Yeah, and then he would take me to shows, and we went to a lot of musicals. Oddly enough, I guess he must have had season tickets or summer tickets to
Yeah, for like
Fair,
the
Fair
summer Fair Park
Fair
summer
Park
musicals.
Musical.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I went to a lot of musicals as a kid with him and his girlfriend. I remember we saw Clapton at Reunion Arena, which was,
Wow.
man, that was that one still reverberates. I remember in high school I was dating a girl who I shouldn't have been dating, and I got tickets to go see Page and Plant at Reunion, and I was so fired up because that was like the thick
Yeah.
of my Led Zeppelin awakening as a
Yeah.
teenager, and she had next to no interest, and I'm just loving life. And I really wish I just took my dad to that one,
Yeah.
because I think he would have appreciated it. And I think that's another tale for folks. Don't take people to concerts that might be lukewarm,
Yeah.
because take somebody that actually wants to go, or just go by yourself. I think going
Yes.
to a solo show is a very underrated thing. And I started doing that maybe 15 years ago. I went to Southside Ballroom and saw Alabama Shakes just because I was into them, because they just burst onto
Yeah.
the scene. And to see Brittany Howard as a front person was just, she is one of the best front people I've ever seen in my life. She's a force
Yeah.
of nature. And then after that, it's wow, this was great because I could just go and I can stand where I want to. I got near the soundboard, and I don't have to buy another beer for somebody. I can just enjoy this, and you make friends. You're in this
You do.
communal
Yeah.
vibe place, and you just make friends with the people around you. If you don't like them, then you just
Yeah.
go somewhere else.
And it's one, it saves a little money because you're not
Sure.
buying a second ticket.
Or you can
Uh
get a better ticket if you just go
yes,
by
you can.
yourself.
You can. And that's what my wife always says. Yeah, go by yourself, you'll get a better ticket. Secondly, you if you're not a jerk, you're gonna worry, like, are they having fun?
Yeah.
Like they're doing all these obscure songs that I'm loving, but are they bored to death?
And
Right?
you almost want to let them know why you're
Yeah.
digging it so much. Like, you want to give them a little bit of background, so it might
Yeah.
take away from your
Yeah,
locking in your
exactly.
moment. Yeah.
So, yeah. So you will be one of the few people that will appreciate this story. So the second time I saw Bruce was at the Devils and Dust tour out at Grand Prairie.
I
So,
was at that was the solo show, right?
yes.
I was at that show with
Okay.
the aforementioned college girlfriend and her
Okay.
parents. So I was
Yeah.
upper level, but there's not a bad seat in there.
Yeah. So I was lower level against the wall. The aisle was to my right, a pillar was to my left, and a guy came up and said, "Do you want a better seat?" And I went, "No, I'm good," because I was thinking he's a scalper. And then it
Yeah.
hit me, wait a minute, I'm inside the venue.
Uh-huh.
So this is the mysterious man in black that rumors have. So I went up and said, "Yeah, I'd love a better." Oh, here you go. It wasn't as good as Moose Johnston's ticket, but it was better than Babe Laufenberg's ticket.
There you go. Yeah.
Because I saw both Moose and Babe, and I
That's
was like,
awesome.
okay. So yeah, that was fun.
I totally forgot about the Devils and Dust show. So yeah,
Yeah,
I guess technically I've seen Bruce 3 times.
yeah,
It's because when I think Bruce, I just think E Street Band.
yeah,
But
of course.
the Devils and Dust show was excellent. It was just
Yeah,
him on stage for 3 hours, and
yeah.
come
I
on.
ran into Richard Hunter and we talked afterwards because I had been on the Wild Ass Circus a couple of
Okay.
times. And he and I clicked and so we had talked about that and I saw him and wanted to know how he thought and if he says this is what I would think if Bruce ever did a class at a college. This show is what I think it would be.
Yeah, that's a great
Yeah.
way to put it. Because if you watch his HBO solo thing,
Yeah.
or was that Broadway? I forget. It was on
Yeah.
HBO a number of years
Yeah.
ago. It felt very reminiscent of that. A lot of
Yeah.
storytelling. He
Absolutely.
took his time. He did the songs the way he wanted to do them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's a really good comp. It's funny you bring up Big Dick because I was his intern. He helped usher me into my
Yeah.
ticket career, and he's had an interesting ass life. I tell you
He
what.
has had an interesting life. And he still remembers because I've had him on I had him on the podcast because he loves Bruce.
Mhm.
And every once in a while, we'll exchange social medias. And he would like, when we picked games, I would always use some kind of TV reference to use. Oh, I'm going to pick Detroit because yeah, I'm going to pick Detroit because of Ford commercials, or Ford is sponsoring 24. So therefore, I'm
Okay.
going to pick. And he would say, I always loved that shtick. Yeah. So Sean, I've kept you way too long, but
No, you're fine.
is there anything I should have asked you that I haven't?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what you typically ask, but I feel like we've covered a lot. I
Yeah, that's good.
I'm curious about when Bruce is coming back.
Yeah,
Is there any word on that?
no, he just put out that box set of
Yep.
7 unreleased albums that are really different. There's one that is a soundtrack to a movie he had asked to score. He's got a album that is him doing basically Sinatra and Tony
Okay.
Bennett type songs. Yeah, it's really, really
I would
cool.
dig that. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
great.
it's really cool.
Real
You
quick,
know,
are you gonna watch the movie with
oh yeah.
Jeremy Allen White? I feel like that's a I know that he's one of the it actors right
Yeah.
now, and I don't know how you feel about The Bear. I
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite TV
Oh,
shows
I
I've
love
watched
it
in the last
too.
few
Yeah.
years.
Well,
It'll wallop you too
yeah.
emotionally, but I think from a casting standpoint, that's a that's better than Timothy Chalamet playing Dylan, in my
Yeah.
opinion. I
Yeah,
feel like
and
that's
he
more of
did
a
great
truer
as Dylan. Yeah.
representation.
Yeah, in fact, Chris loved the Iron Claw, and he was in that.
He
And
was.
that boy, talk about some Dallas ties and
Yeah,
stuff.
not the most believable Carrie Von Erich I've ever seen.
No, but
And
yeah,
they took some liberties, and obviously they didn't tell the full story. They basically took two brothers and mushed them
yeah,
into one,
yeah,
which
because
I didn't love.
yeah,
Because
they're like,
as a young wrestling fan, I was hoping to get like the actual like
yeah,
Von Erich story, and it was a little distorted.
yeah. My dream, obviously, I'd love Bruce on this podcast, but I would love CM Punk to join me to talk about punk rock.
Oh yeah,
I just would love to have that.
I would listen to that. I'm not a big punk guy. That
Yeah,
was a little before my time, and that
yeah,
just never landed with me. I mean,
yeah,
there's bands. In fact,
yeah.
if you want to go watch a punk band that does country, you can go see the Vandaliers.
Okay.
We go to their Friendsgiving with
Yeah.
the Vandaliers and Joshua Ray Walker, which it
Okay.
is country, but it's also like cowpunk, I guess, is the
Okay.
technical genre for what they're doing. That's a terrific show. In fact, I saw Nadell there last year,
Wow.
the aforementioned, and it was a tremendous time. And that's my wife and I had such a good time, and I think that's hopefully going to be a new yearly Thanksgiving tradition for us.
Oh, that sounds a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Yeah. This past year, we was the first time we made Jud Jam, and my son and I just loved it. We were so happy.
that Longhorn Ballroom, what they've done with it is just so good. In fact, I'm wearing St. Paul and the Broken Bone shirt right now, and that's my wife and I saw them there back in the spring, and it was I can't imagine a better venue to see a band like that, or maybe a lot of the
Yeah.
bands we like, because it's not intimate, but it's
No.
not huge. It just feels like the perfect spot to go see a show.
Yeah.
It could be a big sounding band, or it could be just like a stripped down acoustic band, and
Yeah.
it's perfect. And there's so much history in that building anyway. I mean, it's like walking through a museum before the show starts.
It is absolutely. Yeah. So I think the rumor is that he may put out a Nebraska box set right around the
Okay,
movie.
all right,
I don't know. You mentioned you don't get to read many books, but "Deliver Me from Nowhere" by Warren Zane is what it's based on, and the premise of the book is okay. Bruce did "The River," which gave him his first radio play, their first kind of success, and then he did "Born in the USA," which shot him to the
commercial, yeah.
atmosphere. Why did he have to do Nebraska between them? Why did he need to do this silent little album that he just recorded on a cassette tape? And that's what the book explores
Hmm.
basically. And
I'll have to check that out.
yeah, it's really interesting. And so that's what the movie's going to be based on. And yeah, I recommend it not just as a Bruce fan, but just as an interesting thought of music and what's going on. So that's great. We don't know if our Rangers are going to pull it out of their magic,
Yeah, I don't
but
know.
yeah,
You got to score runs, right?
yeah, you got
That's
to.
a big part of it.
Yes. But Chris and I will be listening to Diamond Talk and going. And I am just so thrilled you took time to talk to me. I'm going to give you in a minute so you can tell people where to reach you, promote whatever you got going on. But before I do that, I end every podcast with the Mary question.
Okay.
And what that is one of my standard bits. No, Jay Armstrong was an honors English teacher in the Philadelphia area. And when he was teaching, he would give the lyrics to Thunder Road to his students. And he would ask them to read it as if it was a poem. And
Yeah.
then he would ask this class, do you think Mary gets in the car? So, Sean, that's your question. Do you think Mary gets in the car at the end of Thunder Road?
I think Mary should get in the car, but I don't think she does. And I think the fact that he makes such a compelling case and she doesn't makes the song even more impactful because he knows what life that he could have. Because if she gets in the car, I don't know if you write that song.
Yeah.
Like it's like this imagination of escaping away and just getting away from all of this and let's just forge our own path and blaze and let's just go. But because we all have things in our life that are regrets and there's things that we wish we did different. And I think some of those regrets probably fuel whatever art or creativity or production we have currently and moving forward. So I think the song works like a fairy tale if she gets in, but I think because there's a level of pain and a level of hope, and I feel like there's so much of life that's disappointment, and maybe that says something about me. I don't think she gets in the car.
I love that answer. By the way, that's similar to Jay Armstrong's answer is he said, I think she's afraid. I
Yeah.
think that you have to choose, and the safe choice is not getting in.
Mm.
And he says, and I think that's what makes the song great.
Yep. And I think
I,
a lot of people's favorite line in mine too is "Have a little faith. There's magic in the night." Like have a
yes.
little faith that
Yeah.
this life could be bigger than what it is, and there's magic in the night as long as you go out and seek it. And I think so many times, no matter how forward we want to be and
Yeah.
achieve our dreams and strive for success,
Yeah.
there's something that always holds us back because we are riddled with doubt as people.
I absolutely, during the Mavericks championship run, I'd be live tweeting. I have a little faith. There's magic in the night. And same thing on the thing. We've gone the whole thing and not talked about the Cowboys.
It's okay.
Do the Cowboys suck or what?
They do suck, and it's funny because we had a big meeting today talking about
Yeah.
NFL season coming up,
Yeah.
Cowboys. That's the content king, and it
Yeah.
is,
I
and
get
and
it.
it
I
it's
understand it.
like
Yeah.
they are a content machine, and it's weird that we. It's not that we're saddled, like we don't have to talk Cowboys, but
Yeah.
we get to because we understand that we're at the epicenter of the NFL/sports universe because they're the most valuable thing in sports. So why wouldn't you talk about
Yeah,
them?
and I may clean all this out, but I think it's genius for your corporate overlords, and I mean that
Mhm.
with love in my heart.
Yeah,
Okay, we're now going to do the podcast stream of all the cowboy segments.
I think
Oh,
it's great.
yeah, now we're going to do a stream of all the non-sports bits. I mean,
And to pull the curtain back, we're gonna have a Ranger one, we're gonna have a Stars one, we're gonna have a Mavs one, just to
I think
super
that's
serve the fans.
well, and I think you were talking about that's how terrestrial radio, right? You embrace the new technology so you get that going. And so
Yep.
that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Do you,
one thing I want to say to your
yeah,
listeners, and if they're listening, they know this,
yeah,
but man, you can drop ungodly amounts of money on sports, and it's probably gonna break your heart. Like
yes.
there might be some good times, they might win the game you're at, but in general, there's a chance that things won't end well, either at
Right.
the end of the night, the end of the week, season, whatever. Man, if you spend money on a concert, 99.9% of the time, it's going to kick so much ass. And it's such a great return on investment. So,
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that because I will after the Cowboys break our hearts, Chris will pull up a YouTube video of a Springsteen show. He's Bruce never lets us down, Dad.
Never,
No.
never, not once. Nope.
And it is, and I'm a firm believer, Sean, that I feel like if you could get one person and another person they're disagreeing, I just feel like I could put them in a room and kind of talk sense to them and make people find common grounds. And you just, how the hell is Jerry Jones so stubborn?
Oh, that's
I mean,
I don't.
we could do a
We,
whole other hour on that.
well, we've had 30 years of proof that
Yes.
he is. So I don't know where you'd begin on that. It got look, we're what 5 days away from that docuseries dropping on
Yeah.
Netflix, which because they're a content machine, we are going to have to watch. Even
Oh,
though we
yeah.
even though we lived a lot of it, I'm sure there's going to be some new
Oh,
revelations that we
yeah.
learn. But it's yeah, I'm bracing for that. And honestly, it's genius to place it where they are before the actual season gets going.
Yeah.
You have the backdrop of all this Micah drama, so
Yeah. I heard
they,
you. I
they know what
heard.
they're doing.
Yeah, they do. And the idea, if there's not a drama, I'm going to stir the pot so they can get the drama. And it just, and I know this is something you hear all the time, but my wife asked my son, "Do you even know who owns the Rangers?"
Yeah.
And it's like,
Not a lot
I,
of people know who Ray Davis is.
right. And it's just crazy.
Yeah.
It is crazy.
It's where we live today sports, as we like to say.
There you go. All right. If someone wants to reach you and promote the show, please, Sean.
Sweet spot 1 to 3 on the ticket. And if you're in DFW, you've probably heard of us. And if you haven't, then get the Sports Day Talk app, which you can get anywhere and listen to us around the globe. If you want to hit me up on Twitter, I'm at Sean Seabass, SeanCbass, or Blue Sky, Sean Seabass there. And I'm easy to contact. I will interact with you. And yeah, listen, I guess if you're hearing this before the what is today, the 14th, if you're listening
Yeah.
to this before the 16th, we're calling a Frisco Rough Riders game on the ticket
Okay.
Saturday night with Zach Bigley, and the Rangers new best pitching prospect Jose Corniel is going to be on the mound. Check that out. But
Very
yeah,
nice.
if anybody wants to talk music or food or you name it,
Yeah.
I am here to talk.
Let's plan on getting together maybe later in the fall, maybe first of the year, catching up
Absolutely.
again, talk about some concerts. I'd love to have you guys. In fact, let's plan on having you after you watch the movie and we talk about that. So that'd be great.
Yeah, we got Flaming Lips next week. I'm going to with, and then Lord Huron in October.
Nice.
Which I purposely bought those for the wife and I because one, she loves the band, I do too.
Yeah.
But I bought there. It's an October 27th show, and my thought was when I bought them back in the spring, I'm like, huh, if I buy these, the Rangers will be in the World Series, and I can't use these tickets.
And I will take that. Yeah.
I hope I don't use those tickets, but I probably will.
Yeah.
And I would love to maybe review that show, and we'll definitely
Okay.
talk about the
That,
movie.
yeah, I'd love that. I'm with her coming up. I'm going to see them at the Kessler. And
Cool.
then, yes, we are. Melissa Etheridge and the Indigo Girls are playing at Grand Prairie. And I think
That's incredible.
that's going to be a
Yeah.
fun show.
Yes.
And I love that Yes We Are is the name of the tour. So,
That's so cool. Yeah, that's a
uh,
how long have they been back together that long? It doesn't feel like it, right?
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's going
Huh.
to be, yeah, so that should be a lot of fun. That is one good thing everyone talks about in Dallas. We do have it. We have the Cowboys, we have the Rangers, we have the Stars, we have the Mavericks. And but we have a lot of great venues of music,
We
not
do.
just the big ones. I can remember going to see Edie Brickell and the Bohemians and Brave Combo and Sarah Hickman and Deep Ellum
Yeah.
shows. So yeah, that's a lot of
Yep.
fun.
Yeah, go see live music. That's there's one
That's right.
last message, just go see a
Go see
concert.
live. That's right. They will not.
DVR the game, go see the show.
Absolutely. Sean, thank you very much. Listeners, check them out. It is really a lot of fun. Whether you like sports or not, it's a fun couple of hours and it will make you smile. For everyone else, be safe, be kind. We'll talk to you soon.